Hello everyone, this is a July 2019 budget cubic deck profile that I'm finally getting around to. So it's budget in that there's no pot of extravagance. So two things about this deck. One is that it can output some really high damage, whether it's effect or battle damage. So you got Crimson Nova, the main deck card. You also got Trinity sometimes for the burn damage and the battle damage too. You have spells that boost attack. So for battle damage, you have some monsters that can attack 2 or even 3 times. So really high potential for OTKing in this deck. At the same time, the other thing is that it can be really inconsistent and bricky. I mean, sometimes you're opening a bunch of monsters that can't be normal summoned or set, so you can pretty much do nothing. So it can be frustrating, but budget deck that can work. So we start off with Triple Duza. This is your primary starter and extender if you have a Summoner Monk in hand. So upon normal or special, it dumps a cubic card from deck to grave. So that can be a monster if you want to special it back from the graveyard with another cubic. It can also be Karma to search, or it can also be Unification, for example, to special from the deck. So Duza also gains attack if a monster is sent to your graveyard while it's on the field, which is noteworthy because sometimes you're boosting its attack with a spell too. So the attack does matter. So we have Triple Crimson Nova. This card special summons itself if you reveal 3 other cubic cards in your hand with different names. So you can sometimes use the same 3 revealed cards for both of these. It is unaffected by other monsters' activated effects whose original attack is 3,000 or less. So it's pretty much losing to back row only. There's 2 hard ones per turn effects with this card. So when this card attacks and destroys a monster by battle, attacking card, you can make this card attack again. So obviously very good, being a 3,000 beater. And then the more critical one is that during each of your end phases, you're inflicting 3,000 burn damage to each player. So this is one of 2 primary routes for winning, effect or battle damage. And this is really how you're inflicting the majority of your effect damage. Just remember, you can lose to your own Crimson Nova, so you want to link it off before if your opponent kind of knocks down your life points. And this card can also result in many ties, I have found. So we have Triple Vijam, the Cubic Seed. So this is your Link 1 for your Link Rebo. Can't be destroyed by battle. And at the end of the damage step, if it battled, it becomes a continuous spell. So even though it has 0 attack, I do like to attack sometimes to get kind of an easy continuous spell. And when it is a spell, you place a cubic counter on your opponent's monster, and then as we will see with other cards in this deck, monsters with cubic counters cannot attack and also negate their effects. So a good way to stall if you're going for more the effect damage route and make your opponent's monsters really unable to do anything if you're not going for battle. You can also special this card from the spells zone if you want to maybe have more materials. So there are ways to dump Vijam and special Vijam from the graveyard. So we got some one-ofs. We have a Dark Garnex, a Gera Guile, a Blade Garudia, and Vulcan Drogni, all very fun to say. So all of these cards have summoning conditions plus a few other effects. So these 2 you send 1 cubic you control to the grave to special from the hand. These 2 you send 2 you control to the grave to special from the hand, and some you send 3. So if summoned this way, they all gain attack, whether it's 1,000, 800, 2,000, or 1,600. So these 2 actually also do burn damage, which is noteworthy because sometimes, like I said, like I've been saying, that's kind of how you're winning sometimes, the burn route. So they all special Vijam, the Cubic Seed, from the grave, whether it's up to 2 Vijams or 3 Vijams. Thing is, these 2 have to destroy your opponent's monster by battle, and then these 2 have to it's at the end of the damage step if it battled. So that is noteworthy because these 2 are usually happening during your turn unless your opponent attacks into your cubic, because there is a spell where you want a special Vijam from the graveyard during your opponent's turn. So this one can also attack twice, which is definitely good, having 2,000 attack. This is a solid one. But when you do special those Vijams from the graveyard, just so much card text in these cards, but when you do special the Vijams, you can add or search the respective tier up of any of these cubics. So the 1-cost ones, the ones where you send 1 cubic from field to grave, searches the 2s. So this one searches this one searches this one, and these 2 search the 3s. So now we're on to the 3s, as I call them, the Buster Gundil and the Indiora Doomvolt. So you're sending 3 cubics you control to the grave to special summon these cards from the hand, and then they gain the attack like the other ones, whether it's 3,000 or 2,400. This one does burn damage 800 like the like some of the other ones do, but this one is probably the superior of this tier, as I call it, because it can attack 3 times during each battle phase. So just massive battle damage that is sometimes worth trading 2 Crimson Novas plus a Duza for, because it's just the output of battle damage is so high. So these cards don't special Vijam, they special any cubic monsters from the grave, and it's also not related to battle, whether it's destroying a monster or after, at the end of the damage step. These two say if the card is destroyed, or no, if sent to the grave by your opponent's card, you can special those up to 3 cubics from your graveyard. So, not just Vijam, so you can pretty much get a lot of materials. Just remember those other cubics won't gain that attack because they're not special from the hand. So you can also, instead of searching the next tier up, because there is no 4 cost ones, you can add any cubic card from deck or grave to hand. So that's spell, trap, monster. Just really good utility cards, and like I said, Buster Gundil can sometimes win you the game. So triple Summoner Monk. This is just an amazing card in this deck because there are so many spells, and it's a pretty easy rank 4 if you open a spell with it. It's also a free Topologic Bomber Dragon if you open a spell. So Summoner specials Duza, and then Duza, when you do special summon it, dumps Unification. So you link 2 into maybe something like an Underclock Taker. And then Unification activates when that first Duza is sent to the grave. You special the second Duza. The second Duza dumps the second Unification. Use the second Duza and the Underclock Taker for a link 3, which I usually make Trigate. And then the second Unification activates. You special the third Duza, and then you dump whatever you want, whether it's another Unification or a Karma. And then you use the third Duza plus the Trigate for a Topologic Bomber Dragon. And dumping Unification with the third Duza is not too bad because you can also have a free special summon under that Topologic Bomber Dragon to blow up the board. So really good card, Summoner Monk. And then we have Double Veiler. So I cut this to 2 because I wanted to make space. But speaking of hand traps, this deck does lose pretty hard to hand traps. It's hard to play through 1, so 2 is even worse. So spells, triple Karma. This is most notably the card that searches when you banish it any cubic monster. So it's a good one to dump with Foolish Burial Goods. So also you can dump any number of Vijam the Cubic Seeds from hand or deck to boost your cubic monster by 800 for each dumped Vijam. So that can boost your Crimson Nova potentially up to 5,400. So also, if you special Vijam during your opponent's turn, this is the card that halves your opponent's life points. So like I've been saying, that's why it's important that some of those cubics are at the end of the damage step instead of just when it destroys an opponent's monster. So 3 cubic wave. This card is how you get massive attack in addition to Karma. So it doubles your cubic's attack and then halves your opponent's monster attack. So also you can banish this card from the graveyard and banish this card in addition to other cubic monsters, and then place cubic counters on your opponent's monsters equal to the number of other cubics that you banished. So again, another way to stall easy, cubic counter shenanigans to just mess up your opponent and annoy your opponent. And this is how sometimes your Crimson Nova can have like 6,000 attack. So triple Foolish Burial Goods to send any of your spells to the graveyard. I mean, mostly Karma. That's primarily the one that I send to the grave is Karma to search. Usually searching that Crimson Nova. So triple Pot of Desires. I have this at 3. I think a lot of people play this at 3 because it's the draw power is pretty necessary in this deck. Even though you can banish some of the important cubics, you want to have more cards in your hand to reveal with for Crimson Nova. So we got a Monster Gate and a Reasoning. These cards mill, so it's a good way to dump your spells and traps. This one you do have to tribute a monster, which can be hard because sometimes it's got to be your normal summon. Can be your Crimson Nova sometimes too. Yeah, these are just good ways to like clear your whole deck pretty much. And then we have a Scapegoat. I'm running this Scapegoat because it's a good way to just go into your Topologic Bomber Dragon and then go into the World Chalice monsters that I run. Just these budget links that can extend the board. If you're just going for multiple rank 4s, if you're not going for the standard like Crimson Nova burn strategy. So triple unification. This is your polymerization trap to, if you can pull it off, special summon that Trinity from the extra deck. So more notably, it special summons, like I've been saying, a cubic, a level 4 lower cubic from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. So just perfect for that combo with Summoner Monk. And then lastly, double heavy Storm Duster, because your Crimson Nova is pretty much only losing to Backrow, like I said. So extra deck, Trinity. One of these you only need because it requires, as you can see, triple Crimson Nova the Dark Cubic Lord. So very, very hard to summon, but it's got really killer effects. Can't be targeted and destroyed by opponent's card effects, and it's a 4500 beater, so just, really well protected beater. And you can have your opponent's life points when this card declares an attack. So just massive effect damage, massive battle damage. Also it returns the effect damage that you took from your opponent sometimes to your opponent. And this card can also attack twice. So just really killer boss monster if you can get it on the field. Just probably won't happen because the opening 3 Crimson Novas plus a unification, that is just so hard to do. So double Linkuriboh for your Vajams. You can go into multiple of these, so I do run 2. 1 Link Spider and a Mrs. Radiant to help out with the Linkuribohs for the Scapegoat to go into your links. Underclock Taker for the standard Link 2. I mentioned that in the Summoner Monk combo. Trigate Wizard mentioned it too, but you can sometimes co-link this once or maybe even twice to get the banish effect. Nightmare Phoenix, which is not totally budget, but still a very good card. It's really, really helps out in the deck. We got some World Chalice monsters for Scapegoat. This can be a decent board. It's a budget option that can extend your board a little bit. If you can maybe summon these 2 in the main monster zones, you get these zones unlocked. So if you want to go for like double rank 4. And then we have a Bomber Dragon, which just blows up the board, and just a lot of ways to summon this card, and just super helpful because a lot of times your Crimson Nova is not affected by other monsters' activated effects, so it doesn't blow up your Crimson Nova. And then we have some rank 4s. Castel, Dweller, Bagooska, and Exciton Knight. Same thing with Exciton Knight. You're clearing the board and doesn't affect your Crimson Nova. Dweller is primarily the one I go into. Sometimes I have double Crimson Nova plus a Dweller, so that's a solid board right there. This, you don't have too many monsters, so Bagooska can actually negate effects, and Castel is your generic spot removal. So that's pretty much the profile. There is OCG support in this deck now, so when it does come out into the TCG, I will definitely be making an update for this deck. But as I said in my budget Nordic deck profile, next videos are going to be budget Phantasm Spiral as well as non-budget Crawler. So thank you very much for watching. Have a good one.